Ariel Helwani absolutely went off on Jon Jones, calling him out for ducking the Tom Aspinall fight and embarrassing himself with his ongoing Twitter rants. Helwani didn't hold back, saying there's no other GOAT in any major sport whose final chapter looked like this, actively avoiding the toughest challenge and refusing to pass the torch. Instead of cementing his legacy by facing the most dangerous contender in his division, Jones is spiraling online and losing fans with every excuse. Ariel even compared it to the greats of other sports, pointing out that true legends face the fire on their way out, not run from it. But Helwani wasn't just throwing shade, he came with receipts. He revealed new behind-the-scenes details about the UFC's efforts to book the Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall fight. According to Ariel, the UFC actually met Jon's financial demands. They got him the money he's been asking for, and at first he said yes, but then he backed out. Even after that, the UFC kept trying to make the fight happen, but they simply couldn't get Jones to commit. Helwani says it's not that Jones doesn't want to fight at all, he's still interested in competing, but just not against Aspinall specifically. That's the problem, and that's why so many are calling this a stain on what could have been the most dominant legacy in heavyweight history.
They got him the money, but there was a back and forth, They got him that money. They finally got him that money, and he said yes, and then he said no. And since he said no, they've been trying to figure out a way to get him to do this fight, one last fight. He ain't budging, that he is not interested. When I say not interested, I don't mean not interested in fighting. I mean not interested in fighting Tom Aspinall specifically. Tom thinks he's cooking with all of these right here. He thinks he's having like the greatest run on Twitter. What's really happening is he's cooking his own legacy right now. He's making a mockery of his legacy. Show me a great champion. Show me a great. From Jordan to Tom Brady to Ali to Lemieux to Gretzky. Show me someone who acted like this in their final chapter. Show me. Who refused to pay it forward. Jon just doesn't want anything to do with Tom. I think speaks volume because here he is campaigning for a Francis Ngannou fight.
Luke Thomas recently broke down the chances of Cory Sandhagen against the Georgian machine, Merab Dvalishvili, and he thinks this could be a much tougher fight for the champ than some may expect. According to Luke, one of the key factors is Cory's dangerous leg lock game, something that could really threaten Merab if he uses the same grappling entries and positions he did against Sean O'Malley at UFC 316. In that fight, the Georgian was hunting for the finish, which meant taking more risks and opening up in ways he normally doesn't. That aggression worked against Suga, but Sandhagen's ground game is more refined and aggressive. Luke pointed out that Cory's jiu-jitsu is super underrated and that he absolutely dismantled Davison Figueiredo, showing off his timing, control, and ability to stay a step ahead. And it's not just his submissions. Sandhagen's ability to create scrambles and shift momentum is elite. If Merab gets reckless, Cory could latch onto something and flip the fight on its head. But of course, with Merab's world-class cardio and a suffocating style, he doesn't just beat opponents, he breaks them, and unless Cory finds a way to stop that storm, he could be next. With the Sandman being one of the few top contenders Merab hasn't run through yet, this matchup brings serious intrigue and the potential for fireworks.
So this is, to me, the million-dollar question. On the feet, obviously he's a lot better than Merab. Okay, no question in my mind.
Long, leaps in, all kinds of awkwardness.
Yeah, and he can obviously use knees in a way that he can combine disparate striking elements. Also, really no question in my mind, if Merab wants the takedown, he can get it. The issue for me in both the first fight and in particular the second fight is that when he got taken down into open space and now he's flat on his back and he's got full guard, that was a problem in the first fight and that was a problem in the second fight. The question you have to ask yourself is, does Cory have a solution to that problem? But I believe that the leg locking game of Cory Sandhagen could be quite valuable. Now, the problem is it's going to be very difficult to get into a good place to do them when Merab goes chest to chest, two knees on the ground. Although in this fight, he kind of opened up a little bit more. He had good tight control, but at the same time, he was willing to create some space to do that.
Arman Tsarukyan is currently facing serious legal trouble that could even land him in jail. Just last year, UFC legend Khabib Nurmagomedov was targeted by Russian authorities over a massive $3 million tax debt. And now Arman finds himself in a similar spotlight, though on a much smaller scale. Reports say Tsarukyan owes the Russian Federal Tax Service about 99,500 rubles, roughly $1,100. While this amount seems minor compared to Khabib's case, it's enough to attract attention from the government. The tax agency has also flagged Tsarukyan's various assets, including a property management company in Russia, a gym in the US, a rented flat in Miami, and luxury cars like a Mercedes G-Wagon and a Lamborghini Urus with custom plates. It's clear Arman comes from significant wealth, largely thanks to his father, who owns a successful construction business. This background explains the assets and the lifestyle he maintains outside the octagon. As of now, details about the tax debt remain scarce, but it's something to keep an eye on as updates could come soon. Tax evasion controversies aren't new in the world of MMA, but how fighters handle their finances can impact their careers and public image. Khabib went through a very complicated and intense situation with the Russian government over his massive tax debt. At one point, he had to flee to the UAE to avoid legal consequences. His gym was raided, and he faced the real threat of jail time if he didn't settle what he owed. It was a serious crackdown that showed just how unforgiving the authorities can be when it comes to unpaid taxes. Now, Arman is in a similar spot. Even though the amount he reportedly owes is much smaller, the Russian government is known for being strict on these matters. If Arman doesn't pay up, the government's unlikely to go easy on him. They won't hesitate to put him behind bars. But of course, with a wealthy father supporting him, this is unlikely to be an issue. In a recent YouTube video, former UFC bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling shared his thoughts on Sean O'Malley's future after losing his title fight against Merab this past weekend. He stated that the UFC won't give O'Malley favorable stylistic fights anymore, and that he'll have to face the division's toughest contenders, like Mario Batista, Kyler Phillips, Umar Nurmagomedov, and even Peter Yan again. Sterling acknowledged the depth of the bantamweight division, calling it a shark tank, and noted that while O'Malley has undeniable skill, certain approaches, like the one Bautista used, can make fights tough for him. He suggested Song Yadong as a potential next opponent to test O'Malley's hunger to get back to the top. Aljo also identified a couple of stylistic matchups that could favor O'Malley, such as former Bellator champion Patchy Mix, who struggled with Bautista's boxing at UFC 316. With O'Malley no longer champion and having lost his place in the title conversation, Sterling emphasized that only the hardest challenges lie ahead in the stacked 135-pound division. However, O'Malley has hinted at a potential move to the featherweight division, opening up a new chapter of possibilities. A jump to featherweight could offer Suga Sean fresh matchups, leveraging his lanky frame and striking prowess in a division packed with dynamic fighters. However, Suga might have a hard time dealing with strong, heavy wrestlers like Movsar Evloev and heavy-hitting fighters like Diego Lopez. Can you imagine Sean against Yair Rodriguez? Fireworks. O'Malley's size could translate well, potentially giving him an edge against some of the smaller featherweights. His sniper-like striking and flair for knockouts could make him a dangerous contender, but the division's elite would test his chin, grappling, and durability in ways bantamweight hasn't. That's it from MMA Psycho. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for daily MMA news.